Welcome back. It's still the Breakfast and Plus TV Africa, and we have our first conversation for the day. We'll be focusing on security. Now, pointing to the success recorded in the fight against insurgency in the Northeast, the presidency says the escalation of terrorist activities in the Northwest would also be brought under control soon. Now, the presidency said there was ongoing re-equipment and reorganization of the security and intelligence forces. Now, the North has been reeling under serious terrorism and bandit attacks, which have taken a turn for the worse. There have been daily attacks, including kidnapping for ransom, insurgency, killings, and incessant farmer-herder clashes, among others. Now, just yesterday, the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Matthew Kuka, slammed the federal government for allegedly failing to halt the worsening security situation. Joining us this morning to look at these security concerns is Professor of Hematology, Usman Yusuf. Good morning to you, Professor Yusuf. Thanks for joining us on The Breakfast.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's talk about this growing concern and this increase in security challenges that the nation is having. The Bishop of Sokoto was in the news yesterday, and he's saying that Nigerians no longer recognize where they live anymore. How do you reason all of that?
Right. I don't comment on what the clergy say. I'll only comment on what I know.
Okay, what do you know then?
Hello?
What do you know then?
What do I know about insecurity?
Yes, you say you only comment on what you know. So what is it that you know? Why are we in this particular quagmire?
Right. I mean, I know about banditry. That is what I've invested my time on over the last 2 years of my life.
All right.
I and Dr. Sheikh Ahmed Gumi, we have been to the forest in 8 states in the north, 5 in the northwest, and 3 in the north central, meeting with these war commanders, meeting with local community leaders, meeting with traditional rulers, meeting with Fulani leaders, meeting with clerics, and meeting with vigilante. We are meeting with state governors in these states. So this much I know and I'm learning from, but I don't comment on what other clerics say, their opinions.
All right, fine. Indeed, you can only comment on the things that you know and the things that you have perfect knowledge about. But you wrote something. Let's just try and get some of the things out of all that you wrote. You wrote a particular piece on the 7th of April, and you captioned it, "The Unholy Alliance Between Bandits and ISWAP." You said it is a national security nightmare. Just the other day, we had reports that ISWAP has carried out so many attacks in Nigeria. So far, Nigeria is actually the highest, one of the countries with the highest, IS attacks in the world. And you're saying there is an alliance between bandits and ISWAP. Can you throw more light on that?
Right. What I was saying is that the bandits we saw, the ragtag bandits we saw when we visited this forest, from day one, we knew they are not the ones responsible for the train attack along Kaduna, Abuja. And all along, for the past 2 years, Sheikh Kume used to urgently, with a sense of urgency, tell me that, Usman, we need to get to these bandits before this Boko Haram and ISWAP get to them, with their twisted religious ideology, because these bandits do not have that. Almost all the problems we hear, the grievances we hear from these bandits are grievances that are local. And the solutions can be found locally. Nowhere in the forest we visited did they have any grievances against the federal government or the military. But here you are, any alliance between ISWAP or Boko Haram and these bandits is going to be a lethal combination for this country that will be very, very difficult for any security agency. And the reasons are clear. The reason is because over the last 13 years that Boko Haram has been wreaking havoc in this country, long before they picked up arms, they have been wanting access into the Northwest, which is the largest population geopolitical zone in this country. And the reason they haven't gotten access all this time is not for lack of trying, neither is it accidental, but it was because of proactive, behind the scene, tireless efforts of our traditional rulers and clerics in this region, preaching to the Muslim faithfuls in this region that they should not accept these twisted religious ideologies that Boko Haram are bringing. And that's why you don't see it. You remember they nearly killed the late Emir Ado Bayero of Kano because of all these efforts. Well, now they are trying to get this access, and the train attack along this Kaduna-Abuja, there was clear indication that they are beginning to work together. And the pointers are there from the outset. Number one, these are ragtag bandits do not have the capability for using bombs. This is Boko Haram and ISWAP. Because currently, as we speak, Nigerians do not know. But the capital of Borno State, Maiduguri, has been without electricity for 14, 15 months. Why? Because Boko Haram, ISWAP, they blew up the transmission lines into the state capital twice. So they had precedents for hitting infrastructure, number one. Number two, when the captives were taken out of the train, they were conveyed in buses. Bandits do not use buses. They know the terrain. That's where they live. That's where they live. And when these terrorists enter the train carriers, they were shouting religious incantations. That is not bandit. That is not bandits. And when they came out on the video, when they released the first person, they were saying the federal government know what we want. Bandits have no business with the federal government. They don't say federal government know what we want. Their problems are local. So all these were clear signs from the outset that this was the work of Boko Haram, ISWAP, or any of the others, Ansaru or Dar es Salaam. And lo and behold, intelligence reports that are coming up is clearly showing that yes, there is a connection between one of these four and bandits.
All right, Professor, if I have to butt in, if I have to just get a bit of clarity
Go ahead.
from all that you have said, using the Kaduna train attack as a case in point, what are you saying right now? Is it that these attacks were actually perpetrated by ISWAP and not necessarily the bandits?
No, ISWAP with some collaboration with the bandits that know the terrain. Because ISWAP and all its other cousins, Boko Haram, Ansaru, or Dar es Salaam, cannot have access to that place without the acceptance of these bandits. Remember, these bandits do not have a unified control. They are all over the place. So it may be just one of the lead bandit in that area that align with this kindred spirit terrorists to perpetrate this act. And this is worrying. This should worry this nation more than before. We're in deeper trouble than we were. They have literally quarantined Kaduna, the city of Kaduna, which serves this highway and this rail route, serves 9 northern states and the Republic of Niger into Abuja. So they have blockaded that. Remember a few weeks ago, they attempted breaching Kaduna Airport. So their target is infrastructure. Now they have targeted successfully transport infrastructure. The railroad, the highway, and then the airline. So we are in deep trouble. And I hope the federal government and security agencies wake up and realize the trouble we are in. We need to find a way to flush and frustrate this marriage between ISWAP and whoever the head of this bandit is. That is the goal. But the primary goal of the federal government and security agencies now is to get our people out safely. And for the federal government, for goodness sake, to speak for the families of these victims. No arm of the federal government has spoken with the families of these victims, which is unfortunate and unacceptable. There was a video clip going around of one of the relatives of these victims lamenting that no arm of the federal government has spoken with the victims. This is not acceptable. These people were abducted in a vehicle that's a federal government vehicle, said to be protected by the federal government. And this accident happened. So the federal government needs to speak with the nation, needs to speak with the relatives, and get our people out safe.